Hello and welcome to Straight Talk with me, Sifiso Mahlangu. It's a special Straight Talk interview this evening with the leader of the ANC in KZN, the Provincial Chairperson, Mr. Sihle Zikalala. We'll go into conversation concerning Ms. Makosi Kaa, the trouble or the alliance partnerships with COSATU, and leading up to 2017 are the elections. Who is actually the preferred candidate to lead the ANC beyond December 2017? We find out. This is Straight Talk. Mr. Zikalala, welcome you to the show.
Thanks, Sifiso, and thanks for having us in your show. It has always been a pleasure to engage with you and your audience.
The last time I spoke to you was at the National Policy Conference, and we meet again. Still a lot of discussions to be had. My opening question for you, Mr. Zikalala, is what happened with the Makosi Kaa situation? Facebook tweets, Facebook posts, Ms. Makosi Kaa alleging many things. Her life and that of her children are in danger. The SAPS not protecting her. This morning she went to the social platforms to say that she will be charged tomorrow. So let's put this on record. Are you going to charge Makosi Kaa for misconduct?
I think we must start by clarifying that Comrade Makosi is the ANC member. And therefore, if he has such issues, she must raise those issues with structures of the ANC. But secondly, I believe Parliament have been trying to assist Comrade Makosi to get protection and support in that regard. As the province, we have tried through the Provincial Secretary to meet Comrade Makosi to deal with some of the issues that she has raised. With regard to the issue of charging or not charging, I must say that is processed by the issues and structures of the organization internally. But we have reached a point where we say the conduct of Comrade Makosi, in as far as attacking the structures of the ANC, secondly, in relation to raising issues which we believe she can raise internally, undermines the code of conduct or expected from ANC members. And therefore, that matter needs to be referred to the disciplinary processes of the ANC.
Do you think that there is a likelihood that she will be suspended?
I don't think that we always employ disciplinary measures to suppress comrades or to deal with them harshly or expeditiously. You just want to get rid of a person and ensure that she does not participate. And therefore, I don't believe that the ANC will rush to suspend her. But I believe that we'll institute the DC as we have resolved in relation to these issues that undermines the ANC, that also have put the ANC into disrepute.
You are the provincial chair of KwaZulu-Natal. In your view, Mr. Zikalala, do you think Ms. Makosi Kaa's life was in danger at any point?
Look, it is for security structures to assess and determine that. And I believe that question should be left to those structures to deal with the question and respond to it.
But surely meeting people that the ANC considers its enemies or people who are not ideologically aligned to the ANC, people such as Safe South Africa and Mr. Sipho Pitjana, don't you think Ms. Makosi Kaa meeting Mr. Sipho Pitjana and speaking ill of the party and calling on President Jacob Zuma to step down constitutes to a disciplinary hearing and as such a suspension? If the ANC doesn't suspend her, don't you think you would be setting the wrong notion moving forward?
We will not be setting a wrong precedent on that. We will be following our analysis of the situation and the gravity of the matter. And you don't suspend on the basis of the breach. Because if you say the comrade have done 1, 2, 3, and therefore you are suspending that person, allow that person to go through the due processes, disciplinary process, and then you take the decision at that level.
KZN seems fractured at this point on who the presidential candidate is. Mr. Zikalala, is it going to be Ms. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma or Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, who rises within the branches of KwaZulu-Natal?
The question of being fractured that you are raising, I think it exists in the media. It's not existing in the structures of the ANC. You will know that before the policy conference we had a PGC, which took 3 days. In that PGC, we were really teasing and debating political and ideological issues facing the organization. We were unanimous on issues. When we came to the policy conference, we arrived as a united delegation and we debated issues. There was no divergence from KwaZulu-Natal. You were there as the media covering the whole policy conference. We're speaking one direction, one tongue, one language, dealing with issues of policies. When the national leadership allows structures to discuss, the structures will come up with names. But what have we done so far? In May this year, we released a document, the perspective of the ANC KwaZulu-Natal toward the national conference. We characterize what we believe are the strategic tasks of the ANC going forward. And based on those strategic tasks, we will then, when the time for nomination comes, look for leaders who will be able to implement those tasks. Those tasks include ensuring that we deal with issues of factionalism and build unity in the organization. The second is the issue of organizational renewal. Ensure that we grow the membership in a way that will ensure that people who are members are not just members, but they participate. They understand what it means to be the ANC. Rejuvenate the leadership structures of the ANC and have people who would understand that we are not just reformists, we are revolutionaries and we must change the conditions. The third task is the question of radical economic transformation. People who will lead that radical economic transformation, including forcing industrialization in the country and ensuring that land is expropriated. We are very glad that the policy conference overwhelmingly endorsed our proposition of expropriation of land with no compensation. And we are saying that we need to engage in that process. Post the national conference, we will expect the leadership that will assume the office and lead the ANC to engage with other African parties on the question of expropriation of land without compensation.
How do you
amend the constitution to allow the expropriation of land.
How do you then respond to comrades within the ANC who are opposing Mr. Mosebenzi Zwane's attempt for radical economic transformation in the mining sector, which is called the Mining Charter? There's many opposition voices and some of them come from the ANC. He released it a few hours later. Members of the ANC were saying there's going to be a lot of job losses in the mining sector. Are there members of the ANC who are against transformation in the mining sector?
I don't think it's against transformation per se, but it's a question of protecting jobs, at the same time protecting the industries and ensure that there is economic growth. But with regard to the mining charter you are referring to, I saw nothing wrong with that charter. Because in totality, that 30% was defined. 14% for BEE, 8% for the workers, another 8% for the people, for the local community. And for me, I believe that was the progressive initiative which needed the support from all of us. Hence, at the policy conference, we supported it. We supported that mining charter. We then said it is one instrument that seeks to transform the mining sector. But we're saying it should just be a transition going to 50% owned by Africans and South Africans in general.
Why do you think some of your comrades within the ANC oppose the mining charter? Do you think, is it because they have vested interest or some of them are still captured by what you defined to me in our interview as the existence of white monopoly capital?
It is either because of the two. The first thing is that a person normally does not live as he think, but rather think as he live. The conditions that shape ourselves are the one that determine our thinking, and therefore some will want to advance that. That is the fact, and we should be realistic in analyzing the situation. So that is one reason. It might happen that there are those who think that the mining industry must grow and benefit those who are involved. Either they themselves are involved, but others might be coming with genuine arguments that talk to issues of protecting jobs. And if those arguments are advanced, we must sit down and debate. But for us, that mining charter was not only protecting the employees, but was guaranteeing them the ownership they will now own as workers. So it was a progressive initiative which we support as KwaZulu-Natal.
The ANC has its National Elective Conference in December. Minister of Housing, Ms. Lindiwe Sisulu, has thrown her hat in the ring. Do you think that was a premature move?
Look, people can avail themselves, it's fine. Structures of the ANC will only start nomination in September. So we are not going to say so-and-so is availing herself, so-and-so is availing himself, they are wrong and what. It's not only her. There are a number of comrades who have been referred to as campaigning. And all of them, they've just campaigned, it's fine. There are also structures of the ANC that have pronounced themselves, the Women's League, the Youth League, but also COSATU have spoken on issues of leadership.
But you don't think it's a premature move, or it is illicit against the rules of the elective conference?
Yes, the rules of the conference is that we must start discussing names in September. So there's no need of rushing. We are all going to discuss. I will know that the leagues will want to influence. It also happened when we were in the Youth League. That will go all out and try to persuade structures of the organization. But they must do so also respecting the ANC decisions and the ANC directions on those issues.
Let us quickly talk about the 8th of August, the vote of no confidence. What are your expectations with the parliamentary vote of no confidence that will be attempted against President Jacob Zuma?
Well, whether it is the vote is in secret or not, the ANC members are expected to go there, all of them, members of parliament. The ANC national leadership will give them the decision of the ANC in that, and members of the ANC will be expected to go and vote in line with the decision of the ANC. Unfortunately, for those who are saying people must vote with their conscience, they themselves in their own organizations have even clauses that says if you vote against the party line, you would have expelled yourself. But they want the ANC to let its members go and vote in that situation.
Are you not afraid, Mr. Zikalala, that this process allows for horse trading within the ANC? That the opposition or other senior members of the ANC might give brown envelopes to some members of parliament to say vote President Jacob Zuma out for the process of regime change or a different administration of the ANC?
I don't doubt members of the ANC. Those comrades are deployed there as cadres of the organization. They are expected to go there, respect the decision of the ANC and implement it as so. And therefore, all members of the ANC will be expected to go to Parliament on the 8th and vote against that motion. And you must know that that motion is not the ANC motion, it's the DA supported by EFF. And therefore, we will go there and vote against that because it's not our motion as the organization.
What is the referendum to stop the violence and the political killings in KZN? There is a commission that was set up to investigate there's been a lot of peace initiatives trying to curb the violence within the ANC and the violence between the ANC and the IFP. I had an interview with Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and he said to me that the intolerance between the ANC and the IFP is largely perpetuated by the ANC. How do you respond to that? What attempts are you going to make?
No, I would not want to respond to that statement of Prince Buthelezi because I didn't hear it from him. But I can say that I had a meeting with Prince Buthelezi immediately after the policy conference of the ANC, and we had a very good discussion in as far as how do we resuscitate the process of reconciliation between the IFP and the ANC. And I believe we will be pursuing those issues because as the ANC were committed in a process of reconciliation with the IFP. Not only reconciliation in terms of having IFP, ANC, but the ANC was established by the ANC, the IFP was established by the ANC. And therefore we must go firstly through the process of reconciliation. But after that, we must answer the question of the existence of the party established by the ANC and whether it is still necessary to keep IFP outside the ANC. I think we will need to discuss that going forward. But I'm saying the first issue is the reconciliation, which we've discussed with the leadership of the IFP, led by the president of the IFP, Prince Buthelezi. In as far as the issues of killings, these issues are concerning us. We've elevated this to the national leadership and the national security cluster. We thank that they've come down. There is now a task team that is investigating all of these cases. Minister Mbalula went down, but last week also Minister Mahlangu was in Umzimkhulu. The commission on the other side is continuing, and we believe the processes must continue as such. Within the ANC, we're engaging with these areas which are affected to understand what is the situation and try to ensure that whatever is wrong is rectified, but also to ensure that we assist the police in apprehending the perpetrators.
You've spoken to me about Polokwane in the year 2007. Former President Thabo Mbeki did an interview with a radio station and said that Mr. Julius Malema was given false information about him, which led to his axing as the then president of the ANC. Now, I know that you've been to President Thabo Mbeki's home and you've sat with him and asked him deeply not to stand for the presidency of the ANC in the year 2007. How do you respond to him saying he was released from office on lies that Mr. Malema was fed against him to see his axing and the administration of President Jacob Zuma?
No, that was just grandstanding, and playing into the career. I don't think that was fair, and it is genuine. The ANC discussed the issue of withdrawing former President Mbeki from the position of the President of the Republic. It took that decision not based on lies and whatsoever, but based on what was happening, including using the state in a manner that what undermined the role of those institutions. And I think that was clear at that time. The ANC clarified itself clearly. With regard to Polokwane, I think I've heard people apologizing. I've not reached a point that we must apologize to anyone. Myself and Mbalula met former President Mbeki at Luthuli House, and we presented to him the view of the Youth League at that time. And we said our view as the collective of the ANC Youth League is that as the president of the ANC, you should not stand. If you stand, however, you must know that we will not support you. And that was not based on any lies. It was based on the principal position we've taken. And that principal position was saying a president of the country, of the ANC, must be the president of the country. That there's no lies attached to no gossip. That was a principal view we had, which we still hold even today, that the president of the ANC must be the president of the country. President Mbeki could have not continued as the president of the country because he had served his 2 terms. And we wanted to have a president of the ANC to become also a president of the country. So we were clear where our lies there, because that is the principal issue. You discuss based on the principle. I think President Mbeki was just playing into the gallery, and it's not for us to speak for the sake of impressing, but we must speak the truth and we must be factual on what we say.
Did former President Thabo Mbeki utilize state resources to bring down President Jacob Zuma?
No, I don't want to enter into that debate. I think the structures of the ANC discussed that issue before. But I think all leaders of the movement should avoid interfering in the functioning of the state organs in this country. Because state organs must be, one, allow space to operate. That independence is important. But two, state organs must preserve integrity. They must not be suspicious. They must not conduct themselves in a manner that compromises them. And that is what we expect. There are a number of things, and some of the things are still in courts, and we don't want to enter into that space. But the principal view of the ANC, state organs must be independent of political influence, and they must exercise their duties and implement their duties and responsibilities with no fear or favor.
Mr. Zikalala, you just returned from Mpumalanga, where you were discussing a coalition of sorts or an engagement with the provinces. It is widely discussed in the public spectrum that Mr. Didi Mabuza, the Premier of Mpumalanga, is breaking away from President Jacob Zuma, or he will not endorse Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, or he's a candidate out for the open. A few newspapers over the weekend called Mr. Didi Mabuza the kingmaker. What were your discussions with Mpumalanga today?
Well, newspapers will always talk for the sake of themselves, furthering their interest. And it's not often correct that they reflect what is happening in the ANC. We had quite a good discussion with the leadership of the province of Mpumalanga. It is a process that we are starting, where we go to provinces or we meet with other provinces and discuss the approach to the national conference. So what we discuss with Mpumalanga is around few issues. The first one, the assessment of the policy conference. Thirdly, the approach on policy issues going to the national conference. Then lastly, the issue of how are we going to work together to ensure that what is proposed by branches as preferred proposals for the leadership is coordinated, but also we discuss and have a common position. So we will be continuing to engage with the Mpumalanga province, but also we will engage other provinces. Our approach is to ensure that we try to limit space for divisions and have the common approach going to the national conference without undermining the democratic character of the organization.
Do you think that is not perhaps leading a province to the KZN's preferred candidate? Surely Mpumalanga deserves the opportunity to decide on their leader and who they wish to endorse in 2017. This process might be viewed as KZN trying to lure other provinces into the candidate's choice or KZN's preferred candidate for December 2017.
We are not meeting Mpumalanga for the first time. 2012, we had a meeting with Gauteng, PwC to PwC. We also met Northern Cape. And it is a practice that has been there. But when we meet them, we are not imposing ourselves. We're engaging with them at an equal level. They are a provincial working committee. You must respect them as leaders, and we engage with them at that level. And we engage influenced by or led by the policies of the ANC. But more than that, on leadership issues, we are informed by through the eye of the needle, which call on us to debate and engage on issues of leadership with a view of influencing, but equally be prepared to be influenced by others. So that is our approach as we will be engaging with all other provinces.
And the vexing process to which leaders of the ANC must go through, is that not a process that you think will strangle democracy? If you want to vex a leader, who are we to vex? Will that not allow for gatekeeping?
No.
So that a preferred leader might not climb to the top?
No.
Simply because some people want to gatekeep the process?
We want a free and open process where people go, if they want to contest. But we must minimize the space of divisions that will escalate to a point where if comrades are not successful, they see themselves not playing a role in the ANC and instead go out and form other splinter parties. And we'll want to see the ANC getting consolidated, not like what happened in 2008, in 2007, and 2012. So ours is to ensure that we engage with a view of building unity. If within that process there is a contest, we will allow the contest, but it should not be nasty. It should not be about slates where others are not totally elected.
At this point, Mr. Zikalala, where does Mpumalanga stand?
I think they are standing in the position that they've been standing, like all of us, of saying once the process of nominating starts, we will allow branches to nominate. And I think they will not seek to suppress their branches, as we will not also be imposing on our branches or suppressing them.
Who is the KZN's preferred candidate for December 2017?
The branches of the ANC are yet to decide on that. And once the branches decide, we will run with the process. But what I can assure you on that is that once KZN agree on its proposed list, as the provincial leadership will campaign seriously for that person who would have been, or for those people who would have been proposed by the province. We're going to campaign seriously. But whether that person wins or not, if that person wins, well and fine. If that person does not win, on the 8th of January next year, January 8th, we will be, all of us attending the January 8th, wearing T-shirt, bearing the face of the one who would have been elected. So we want to ensure that the process of the ANC strengthen democracy, give a space for members to elect, but do not divide the organization to a point where people feel that they must leave the organization.
Mr. Zikalala, I thank you for your time. I hope we'll speak again just before the elective conference.
Thanks a lot. It has been a pleasure to engage with you on these issues. Definitely we'll engage toward the national conference of the ANC. Thank you.
And that was Mr. Sihle Zikalala, the KZN ANC chairperson. It has been a broadcast of Straight Talk, a special one indeed, from a cold Johannesburg night. I am Sifiso Mahlangu, your host for Straight Talk on Channel 405, only on ANN7.